Have you ever wondered how much your environment influences who you are and who you could become? Hi, I'm Anastasija, a climate psychologist and master coach. And together, let's continue to explore the true nature and power of the community and environment we live in. Context influences our lives at least as much as individual characteristics do. This isn't to say that personal characteristics don't matter or that individuals are not responsible for their actions, but rather to recognize the impacts of contexts. Contexts affect personal life, while persons, especially when acting together with others, influence and change these contexts. Did you know that there are even community psychologists who seek to understand people in the social context of their lives and help to change these contexts to contribute to improving the quality of life of people? They do not work exclusively with the inner world of the person, but only together with the environment in which they live and which affects their inner state. Thomas Leonard, a pioneering figure in the coaching industry, also emphasized the importance of the environment in achieving personal and professional success. He proposed a formula according to which our success is 60% determined by our environment. That's more than knowledge and experience together. Can you imagine? In my work with clients, I can not only confirm this, but I also observe that often we don't fully grasp this concept. We always seem to lack knowledge, and I constantly hear this as the first thought on how to change our lives for the better. But it doesn't work that way. I'm all for constant learning, and I'm constantly learning myself. But our knowledge, when taken out of the context, will do us no good, and in some environments it even could do us harm. As King Solomon said, "He that increases knowledge increases sorrow." This suggests that mere knowledge without understanding the context can lead to unexpected challenges. And I can guess that the influence of context is more than we can imagine. Have you heard of the Stanford experiment? Or maybe you've watched movies based on it. The Stanford prison experiment was a psychological study conducted in 1971 by Dr. Philip Zimbardo at Stanford University. Its purpose was to investigate the psychological effects of perceived power, focusing on the struggle between prisoners and prison officers. The experiment recruited 24 male college students who were selected for their perceived psychological stability and lack of criminal background. Originally planned to last for 2 weeks, the experiment was terminated after just 6 days due to the extreme and distressing reactions from the participants. Both prisoners and guards had adapted their roles well beyond Zimbardo's expectations, leading to dangerous and psychologically damaging situations. Can you imagine that the change in context has uncovered such unexpected patterns of behavior in people? But just as this experiment brought out the worst in people, the environment can also contribute to our development. This is why I always advise checking if your environment is conducive to your growth. Ask yourself if it is helping you develop and whether you are becoming the person you want to be in your environment. Several years ago, I read Paul Ekman's book While Children Lie, which provides extensive advice on building relationships with children where they won't lie. And I was struck by one thought. Ekman acknowledged that children can sometimes adopt behaviors including dishonesty from their friends or peers. This is particularly concerning if lying becomes a regular strategy for the child to fit in or feel accepted in a social group. And I was struck by the idea that if a child is put into an environment that negatively affects their behavior, sometimes it may be necessary to go to extreme measures to help them. That is, change the environment, which means literally moving to a new place. For some reason, I was waiting for him to tell what magic words to say to the child so that he would stop lying and start behaving normally. But it turned out that sometimes words don't help, but a change of environment can. And that's true for all of us, not only for kids. We can use the environment to help us develop in the direction we choose, or simply to form our habits. Of course, it's easier to start running when your bodies are running, and in the company of wine drinkers, it's easier to learn to understand wine, but it's impossible to stop drinking. Our environment is not just the people we come into direct contact with, it's a much broader concept. And if you are interested in learning more about the environment, please leave comments and I will make a video on this topic. Today I will say just a word about how the physical environment influences our behavior. You've probably noticed that it's harder to study or work in the kitchen or bedroom. If we create separate spaces for each task, we don't have to spend energy on overcoming a previous habit, like eating in the kitchen. It's easier for the brain to adjust to the task at hand. As James Clear suggests in his book Atomic Habits, you could think about rearranging your space to simplify the path to good habits or complicate the path to bad habits. The simple advice of keeping water and food inside and candy away really works. I'm not giving examples of climate-conscious behavior, but there are no difference from a mental perspective. Take a coffee cup with you and you want to use a plastic one. Leave it at home and there you are standing with a non-recyclable cup in your hand. And your eco-friendliness has also been left at home. The more difficult it is to do something, the less likely we are to do it. It all makes sense, doesn't it? Create your own environment and community so that it's simply impossible for you not to become the person you've chosen to be. Our environment is a powerful tool for change, and I suggest we start using it consciously. If you want to start doing this, I'm going to ask you a few questions to help you with that. Listen to the questions and write your answers immediately after the end of the video. Take 10 minutes of your time. Don't put it off for later. Later means never. Imagine that everything in your life worked out in the best possible way, and in a few years, you became the person you dreamed of being. Think about who you are. How do you see yourself? What do you do? And how do you feel? Where are you? Who is around you? Who are those people? What are you doing together? How do you see yourself in this picture? Take a few minutes to reflect on this, and then mentally return to your life today. How much does your current environment match the future you envision? What would you like to change? And what would you like to keep? What can you do today to bring your environment closer to your vision? Consider some simple steps to design your environment. Write down one small step, the smaller the better, that is possible to do today, and do it. See you soon.
Mm-hmm.